ladies and gentlemen. This is Jeff Rains coming to you again with Foundation of Civilization. And part of the reason I call this foundation is that there are uh, a lot of organizations, a lot of processes that need to work together. And there have been some very serious problems cropping up lately, especially politically. I wanted this particular one. I wanted to let the Democrats know you guys have some serious problems ahead. We're starting to see some cracks, especially with this last election. And I'm going to go through some of the details here of what I'm seeing and am seeing and some of the messages that I'm hearing. Now, I know and let me start off by saying that we the United States needs healthy parties, not just Democrats, but Republicans as well. And both parties are trying to demonize the other and tell us that the other is spawn of Hades. None of that is true, and a lot of times we just have different views. But we need to stop the massive bickering. Now, I'm going to take this a step further and say that we don't just need two parties arguing over what is best for the people. We need 435 parties. Now, how did I come up with that number? How many districts do we have in the country? Our founding fathers did not want us to be separated by just a few people, by a few groups of people or a few hundred people. They wanted us to look out in our communities and each of the areas to see what is best for us. But unfortunately, we get lazy and we let a few hundred people decide what is going to happen in this country. And now we're struggling with well, it's trying to be one party as opposed to two parties. The Democrats, what I'm seeing right now, and of course, I'm always fascinated by how people can be fooled into voting for somebody or against somebody. This last election cycle, the Republican candidate changed, was able to garner a lot more demographics. Uh, uh, I guess reach into the demographics and garner a lot more votes from them. The most glaring ones were the African American vote. Males in 2020 voted for the Democrats at 87%, but in 2024 voted at 74%, even though there was a minority representing them. The uh, or I'm sorry, Latinos, uh, the support for the Democrats dropped from 63% to 55%. And especially among males, it went from 59% to 50%. The opponent uh, garnered a little bit more white vote, but the black vote went from 8% to 16%. Now that's a 50% increase, but most of that increase was with males. The black male vote went from 12% to 25%. And with Latinos, the total support went from 35% to 56%, and among males, it went from 38% to 48%. I have to tell you guys, one of the messages that I heard from Democrats for the longest time is that males are terrible. They're awful. I think they finally got the message in this last election cycle and said, yeah, okay, we can't do this anymore. Actually, I think a lot of it had to do with policy. They finally went to the store and said, you know what, these policies are not working for me. And so they changed their vote. It it's not a it's not a good look to try to cut off about half of your population and try to win with the other half of the population. It actually you end up just getting about a quarter of the vote uh, that you have to work with. Now, there's a bigger problem though, because the demographic that you really alienated, that the Democrats really alienated, doesn't really show up here. It is in that 1% that they keep demonizing also. It has been noted lately that the Democrats are broke, and they're not just financially broke. They're emotionally and morally broke. They thought they could control the levers of power in politics, law, finance, technology, and other areas, and just dictate to everyone what to do. Now this has come back to bite them. With the discoveries of DOGE, we're finding out that they were also funneling taxpayer money to at least and partially support their political campaigns. One of the key demographics that you have offended is exemplified by Mark Andreessen. Mark Andreessen was a billionaire. He was a huge Democrat donor and to the left, and he was recently interviewed by Joe Rogan. And he exposed the absolute authoritarian measures that were taking control of the whole country through the banking system. Andreessen sat in on meetings with several past administrations where they were running what they called Operation Choke Point 1.0. This was identifying conservatives, conservative talk, people who were buying guns, anybody who were buying guns, and they were debanking them. And I have to note, he was perfectly fine with this. He didn't have a problem until they moved to Operation Choke Point 2.0. This was going to limit the number of tech companies to only those that they controlled. They estimated that there would only be three. And Mr. Andreessen guessed that 30 tech startups had been debanked that he knew of. So, as noted, Joe Rogan asked him, how does a billionaire address this problem? He it was very hilarious to listen to him. He says he leaves the meeting and contributes to their opponents. This problem was not limited to one prolific donor. There, it was noted by some of the top Democrat operatives that a lot of donations went missing. Recently, old time Democrat strategist James Carville warned that the Democrats are broke. They promised that Harris was going to win, and they got huge donations to support it. Their donors, they kept telling the donors, she's just a step away from the White House. And that their opponent, wow, they're going to go down there to Mar-a-Lago and haul him out in handcuffs. Well, then November came around, and the Republican frontrunner was not hauled out in handcuffs. He was actually declared the winner of the election, and it was just just a kind of a whimper of opposition. The donors were extremely disappointed, and they're not contributing to the Democratic Party anymore. Now, Carville also noted that they can't account where all the money went, and hilariously, Carville is calling for an audit. The same of what Doge is doing for the government, Carville wants to have done for the Democrat Party. Well, I'd encourage it. I mean, like I said at the beginning of this, we need healthy parties. And right now, we do not have a healthy party system. This Operation Choke Point 2.0, a lot of people have noted that it is a problem and it is coming, things are coming to a head. The opposition promoted Senator Elizabeth Warren from Massachusetts to take to the floor of the Senate and make a request that, and I believe this was the 5th of February 2025, that she had a list of organizations that had been debanked, and they needed to look into it to find out more so that they could straighten things out. Now, I find this absolutely hilarious because she acts like she wasn't part of the reason that all this happened in the first place. Because the agency that is heavily involved in debanking is the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Now, she was Senator Warren at the time was a professor, but she was promoting the idea of having just such an agency. And it was rolled into the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act. Now, I guess in wrapping this up, I want to point out that many of the stars of the Democrat Party have defected. Some of them are working for the Republican administration now. Robert F. Kennedy, part of the legacy family of the Democrats. Tulsi Gabbard was running to get the presidential nomination as a Democrat. But as soon as she questioned the government's position on war, she was pushed to the sidelines to make room for old faithful war hawk Joe Biden. She was also put on a list by the intel agencies saying that she needs to be questioned and checked anytime she flies. I'll venture to guess that had she gotten the nomination, we would have been addressing President Gabbard instead of Director of National Security or National Intelligence Gabbard. But the Dems were too short-sighted, and they decided that they're gonna stick to the old faithful. They went into full panic, and they've since turned into full totalitarians. They wanted control of all aspects of our lives. Now they're out of money. My only concern is that there are plenty of Republicans who have aided them and who need to be exposed as well. I hope that the public is watching and realizing what a danger it is to give anyone anywhere this kind of power. Nobody should be debanked because of their opinions. Argued with? Sure. Complained about? Sure. Threatened? Debanked? No. No, come on. Wake up. Let's be civilized. Let's get civility back in politics. Please, let's get civility back in politics. This is this is my rundown, my week my enter week rundown of what I see happening. I hope that you guys are doing well. I hope that you guys are watching the changes as they unfold and take place, and look forward to talking to you again very soon. Again, this is Jeff Rains with Foundation of Civilization. Please like, share, and subscribe. It really helps me out, and I'm getting closer and closer to my first goal. And I hope that you guys are doing well. Hug your families. Much love to everybody, and I will look forward to talking to you again very soon. Thanks again. Bye.